Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited. It's a Monday, and we're starting this week as we are in this crisis under COVID-19 protocol. Many things have happened and changed lately. A lot of things have been disrupted. People have been wondering what is going on, when is this going to end? And there's so much news, there's so much rhetoric, there's so many things floating around on social media. There are people posting things, but they're not having real conversations. So tonight you're in for a real treat because a colleague of mine who we're connected with so many people, Jeana Guzman with Goosmann Law Firm, will be on in a few minutes. But before we do, if you have any questions, please, in comments, type below, and I'm going to ask her to interpret some of your questions for you. So if you're a small business owner, if you own a small business, I don't care if it's a lawn company, if you own a company of 100 telemarketers, if you are a realtor or things of those nature, if you are a 1099 or you're a small business owner, now is the time to listen. And if you're not a business owner, now is time to get some more information, equip yourself so you can help the people and give them a kind of guiding light of where you heard this information. And please, if you listen to the broadcast, I want you to share. So at least I just ask you to share, make a comment, tell me where you're listening from, and I would appreciate it. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a bit of introduction. First of all, I want to say thank you to Jeana Guzman for taking the time to actually go through this 1,200-page document, which is the law. And I can tell you that there are many interpretations and many people citing things or interpreting on their own who shouldn't be interpreting. So I want to caution everyone, when you're getting your information from a certain resource, consider the source. So the source that I'm going to bring to you tonight, she is the CEO of her law firm. And so she is the CEO's attorney. I'm going to kind of give you where she practices. So if you're stuck in a multi-million-dollar business deal, if you're bogged down by legal disputes, if your company's losing cash flow, tangled in contracts, getting headaches from troubled employees, she is the attorney for you. But beyond that, she's got a rapid response legal team. She's ready to serve you. I've been observing. She's very involved in the community. Her credentials are so long, but it's not about her credentials. It's about the time that she's going to give to you and us this evening. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on my colleague from Goosmann Law Firm, Jeana Guzman. Jeana, thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
Thanks, Jay. I'm really excited to be on your program. I've been looking forward to it.
I'm just excited. And, sometimes in my mind, I rehearse, where should I start? Where should I go? I'm just going to be comfortable with you, and we're going to have a great conversation. And I know that even talking to you 20 minutes before we're broadcasting, I'm like, save it. Can we replicate the information? I'm already so excited. So, Jeana, would you do me a favor? Kind of tell your story, where your law firm, how you started your law firm, why you chose Omaha, and how your law firm has grown so far. Let's start there.
Sounds great. So Jay, I have roots in Omaha. I'm a Burke Bulldog, and I did my undergrad at the University of Nebraska, where I was a business major, studied business management, and I was also really involved in the entrepreneurship program. At the University of Nebraska, when they said, form a company, I said, well, how do you do that? And that's really what drove me to want to go to law school. I went to Creighton. I'm a Blue Jay. So again, back in Omaha, and I went to Creighton and I studied law, and I really fell in love with the idea of being a lawyer and being able to help other business owners with their issues and being able to be part of the deal. So I started practicing law in a 100-year-old law firm. And after doing that and becoming a partner, I really realized that entrepreneurial business side of me came back out. And I founded Goosmann Law in 2009. So it's been 11 years now that we've been in business. And really, with the whole thing being surrounded around business leaders and helping those business leaders navigate their business and the law and give them really good business advice. So that's what we focus on at the Goosmann Law Firm. We help those business leaders win disputes, protect their wealth, and do deals so that they can spend their time on what's worth it. And being in Omaha is just a natural. That's where I have roots. So we've really grown the office there. We have a team of about 25 in Omaha, and firm-wide we have a team of about 50. So 25 lawyers, and then with our team of paralegals and our support staff and executives. That's where the firm's at today.
That's incredible. So, question for you.
You bet.
Beyond owning a business, beyond running an amazing organization, coordinating all you do, taking care of all your clients, you find time as well. What are some of the things you're involved outside of your practice and your business?
Well, certainly I'm married, and my husband and I have two kids, Colin and Caroline, and Colin is 8 and Caroline is 7. So they definitely keep us busy, right? From being
Yes.
a soccer mom and involved in their school and different things like that. In addition, I've been involved in the arts and involved in the art center. I've been on the board of Girls Inc., which helps girls grow up to be strong, smart, and bold. And then I've been very involved professionally in professional development activities. I currently chair the American Bar Association's Business Development and Marketing Committee across the United States. So people always tell me, oh, you love marketing, and I do, it's fun. And I help lawyers figure out how to do it within the ethics rules that we have. And other business things that I've been involved in, I'm active in ACG in Omaha when we have the breakfast meetings, and I've been on the boards of different chambers. And then last year, I wrote a book called Worth It, Business Leaders Ready, Execute, Deliver. And we had a big conference in Omaha called Be Worth It last August, where Aaron Brockovich was our keynote at the lunch hour, and Jeff Hazlett was our closer. And I've become active as well in his C-suite network.
That's awesome. And you were involved with Vistage at one time, is that correct?
I am still involved in Vistage. I'm a Vistage board member. I'm part of the Synergy board in Omaha. So Rick Faber has been my coach, and he's our Vistage chair, and I'm still very involved in Vistage, and credit that to a lot of our business success at the Goosman law firm too.
Awesome. So I want to break this interview up into 2 parts. We're going to go straight into the CARES Act, first of all, and then I'm going to get more close and personal with you. So beyond the law firm, beyond the attorney, beyond you as a business owner, I want them to know who you are. And then we're going to part with a message of advice for those whose head is in the sand, or they're in despair. So let's start first. I had the idea to contact you when I saw your post on LinkedIn. You're one of the very first. You told me you spent Friday night and Saturday interpreting this. And tell us about that. And I saw your post, and that's why I asked you to come on the show. But tell me, have you been following this, and how you started putting all this information together?
Absolutely. So I think this is dealing with COVID and what we're dealing with right now as a society and really globally. I mean, we've never had a global pandemic, and this is something that we have as a people never experienced. I think I mentioned that my 86-year-old father, he just had his birthday just yesterday on Sunday, and he was talking about how this is something he's never experienced, right? And I think it's an exciting time to be alive, and I think that the laws that are just rapidly changing as a response to this too are unprecedented. This is unlike anything that we have ever experienced in my career as an attorney, where we're seeing huge impacts affecting everybody in every facet of life. And as a result of that, I watch the presidential news briefings. I look them up on YouTube. I think I told you, so I can see them firsthand myself. And then also I was frustrated because I was out on Google trying to figure out what's going on here. And I had a hard time figuring out what is the actual law. And as a result, I started studying it Friday night. I went home and I'm like, okay, I just got to figure this out. And so started researching and got to the point where, okay, here's what they actually passed and what's in it. And it's long. So I'm not going to claim to have every part of it memorized, but I got a really good understanding. Okay, what does this actually entail? And I started to think about how would this apply both to me and as well as my clients.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many people just running around with, hey, did you see they passed it? Everyone's going to get checks. No one's going to get checks. It's a bunch of hooey. It's amazing. So tonight, my goal is let's get the highlights, and then let's get people to credible firms like yourself who don't need to figure this out. They need to hire the smart people like Guzman Law Firm and your team and your rapid response team of attorneys to interpret this for them and let them go what they're great at. So Jeana, what are some of the things that you hear that we should know right away about this? What are some of the high level things that we should know as business owners about this?
You bet, Jay. So on that note, we just put together a rapid response team at Goosman, and it's on our homepage at Goosmanlaw.com. You can see all the resources that we're putting out there and trying to boil down this law into plain English for people. So those resources are there, and we have different people that are focusing on different areas. But to me, one of the biggest pieces that everybody wants to know is, how do you handle employees and employment issues right now? And then how am I going to pay for this if my business is shut down, or if we've had disruption as a result of what's going on with the quarantining at home, and if your business has closed or you've got people working remotely. And then also as a result of that too, people are paying slower, or if your business is decreased or dried up, right? How are you going to stay vibrant throughout this whole process? And I think one of the biggest things people should know, in addition to the fact that most Americans are going to get a check, they really are, from the government, unless they've been income phased out, right? So they're not going to send you a check if you make too much money. They've got an income threshold there, but the rest of people are going to get a check for that. The other big thing is when it comes to unemployment, in addition to people receiving regular unemployment, if they have to go on unemployment, that they'll get from their state, they're going to get an extra $600 a week. So if employers are laying off employees and they have to go on unemployment, that extra $600 a week that's a lot of money, and that will really help add up and kind of bridge that gap. Each state has a different amount that they pay out for unemployment benefits, so it will depend on. People want to know, how much will I get paid? Well, it depends on what your state's rules are and what percentage they would pay of your normal wages.
Right.
But instead, Jay, you asked me, what should business owners know? And I think one of the biggest things that I have never seen anything like this before, and I don't think anybody has, but all the money that they're pouring into these forgivable loans. And that is just so powerful when you think about a business that's going to be able to take out an SBA loan and have it forgiven. And when it's forgiven, that means you don't have to pay it back. I mean, that's incredible. So
and I can tell you,
focused on a lot of my time and attention. We're on those forgivable loans.
I want to go right back to that, because that's going to breeze right over the people who are listening right now. Let's say that again. So as a business owner, if I fall within the guidelines, I can go get a loan from the SBA, which should relatively be easier than it was before. But regardless, now, if I'm able to show some things that fall within the guidelines, I'm going to be forgiven on that loan?
Yes, forgiven.
Wow.
So not that you have to repay it in the future, but it will actually be forgiven. And I think that this is so big. I would love to take a little time, Jay, and kind of break it down how it's going to work. So
yes, please do.
First of all, it's what I'm focusing on right now is for employers that employ less than 500 people. So in general, it's for the small businesses, and they define that as employing less than 500 people. So if you employ less than 500 people and you were in business prior to the COVID experience happening, you're going to be able to be eligible for one of these loans that could be forgiven. Now, how much? Everybody's wondering, how much money can I take out under one of these new loans? And the way that that's calculated is by 2.5 months of your typical payroll. And there are some exclusions there. So they cut out anybody that made more than $100,000 salary. They're not counting those amounts, but it does include the taxes and the benefits that you paid on that payroll. So as a business owner, most people know what their payroll is each month and what they have to cover, right? That's part of knowing your cash flow. And if you think of 2.5 times that, that would be your loan amount that you would take out. And how do you go about taking it out? That's another big piece too, Jay, that I've never applied for an SBA loan before. How do I do that?
That's the big question.
Yeah, all of the lenders. So your regular banker is most likely going to be able to help you get this loan in place. And so you're not going to have to figure out a new place to go. You're going to call your regular banker, and they're going to be able to help you through this process. And we also advise banks. So I know we're in the process of helping all the banks figure out how is this going to work as well. But you'll go to talk with your regular banker, and they will be able to help you apply for this loan for that amount. And there's a cap on it. So if you have a large payroll, it's capped at $10 million for what these loans are available for. But if, for example, if you have a $100,000 monthly payroll and it's 2.5 months, you're going to get $250,000 for this loan, as a quick example. And then it will be forgiven if you prove up proper documentation on what you used the loan for. Now, what can you use the loan for? That's the other thing people are going to want to know. You can use it to cover your payroll expenses and those benefits. You can also use it for your rent or to cover your debt obligations, such as your mortgage, that you had before this COVID occurred. So as a result, if you had incurred this before February 15th, this debt, you're going to be able to use this money to pay those prior debts.
We have a question.
Yes.
So it says, thanks, Jay. Is she familiar with self-employed, those with no employees, in order for federal assistance? Does one need to apply for state unemployment first and then handle to the state? So this is from Diana Alquist. What do you think about that? She's a dog trainer. She has no employees, and I know her very well. I'm not sure if she takes a paycheck or not, but could you talk to both ways possibly on how it might help a single sole proprietor?
You bet. So I know that overall, a lot of the rules typically wouldn't apply to a sole proprietor and somebody that doesn't have like W-2 income, for example. But in this circumstance, unemployment is being made available, so they have waived that. So I think if you are, that is one option. So she could actually apply for unemployment if she's closed down her business, and that is an option to her, and she would be able to get some form of an average of what her prior pay was as a result of that. Or this also, these loans are also an option for those individuals too. So people that even had independent contractors, there's provisions within this new law that will cover them as well. So I think that each individual circumstance is going to have to be analyzed differently, but just to know that a lot of times when you're excluded in the past, this law has actually been extended and removed some of those prior exclusions and specifically has components in it to help cover those people.
That's incredible, Jeana. First of all, my ignorance today, I told 7 independent contractors in real estate that there's nothing for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm not saying there is something, but I'm saying, I thought, we're independent contractors. We're not filing for unemployment. We're not, but that's just really good. So that's where people should wake up out of their sleepwalking now, their zombie state, and listen to Gina Guzman right now, or Guzman Law, or their attorney, or their bank. I think what's happening right now, wow, she said, thank you so much to the both of you. Thank you, Diana, for a lot of people. Again, post your questions below. We're going to try to get to them. So I don't want to derail us. Can you tell me more of where you were going? I didn't want to ask any further questions unless you were done with that segment. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I have more information on that. So, because I think these forgivable loans for business is just tremendous. I mean,
yes.
I mean, the fact that you could get hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars if you're in business forgiven by the government, when they say they passed this $2 trillion law, and it could go up from there, right? It's like, where's all that money going to go? Well, here's part of where it's going to go. And I think it's going to actually get distributed back out into small businesses and into the people that actually need this money. So part of that is when you are going to go into the points, or how do you get the loan forgiven? Well, you'll go back to your bank and you have to provide them documentation. And some of the documentation would be what percentage are you going to get forgiven? And a huge part of this is to encourage employers to continue to employ full-time employees. And as a result of that, people that have the same number of full-time employees as they did previously, they will be able to get the 100% forgiven. Now, a lot of places have already started to make layoffs, or they've made wage reductions because they've had to as a result of what's going on. And the law has provisions for them too, where if you don't beef back up your employment base, you won't get the same amount forgiven as if you had the same number of employees and the same amount of wage base as you had before. Doesn't mean that you won't get any forgiven, it's just reduced based on the percentage that you've already cut. But if those businesses that have already made cuts, if they get back to their prior full-time employee levels and their prior wage levels, they won't have that reduction in their loan forgiveness. So you're given until the end of June or June 30th to rehire employees and to reduce those wage cuts that you've already made. So the wage cuts, that limit is 25% of their prior wage, and then the number of full-time employees that you had in a prior given period of time. So there's a lot of technicalities here, Jay, and
Yes.
as far as figuring exactly how this applies to you, I think you actually have to figure out what were you previously reporting on for how many full-time employees did you have, right? And matching up what are those time periods under the law versus how this applies to you to figure out how much of this are you going to be able to get forgiven and make some smart business decisions. So I think just knowing that the loan can be forgiven and that if you've already made cuts, you'd have until June 30th, if that's what's best for your business, to rehire people. And I've also heard, can I just point out too, Jay, when people say, okay, we laid off some people and now we have to rehire, the law doesn't say, and it's not my interpretation, it doesn't say you have to rehire those same exact people. It's just the number of full-time employees.
Yes, Jeana, can I ask and interject right there? I can tell you right now, a lot of my friends who are business owners are like, Jay, I just lost a lot of great employees and they're not going to come back. They got other jobs. They're loyal. They don't want to job hop. So you're telling me, let's just say I own a restaurant and I have a line chef and he is an hourly employee. I pay him $22 an hour. I'm sorry, you can't work anymore. I'm so sorry. He leaves, he takes another job or she takes another job to another restaurant. And now they're already loyal and or wherever they've gone. I can hire someone else back. And so the relief allows for that forgiveness in certain examples there, in certain situations.
Exactly, Jay. So it's concerned with how many full-time employees you have, not who they are. And I think that's really important for people to know. And it doesn't even say that you have to hire back the same exact role. It's just more about head count of the number of full-time employees that you have.
Jeana, this is so profound that, again, these are things that we don't have time to look at a 1,200-page document, nor do I have time to sit and watch the news, and exactly why you have attorneys ready to help. And I will tell you, when people say, you know, I've never hired an attorney before, I think it's a mistake to not consult with an attorney right now, especially with all the things you can gain. I look at it like this. You need to invest in your business. I mean, we spend money in different directions, but I think investing in good legal counsel is very crucial right now to continuing your business and running it and being ready for the future. So question about different industries, such as people who own construction companies. Is it almost the same? Are there any kind of, I should say, industries that are exempt from this law, or like, well, you just don't really fit the mold? Or is it pretty much cover a lot?
It covers a lot. And I would say, so for in the construction area, oftentimes they're more seasonal, not always, but the law also allows for seasonality. So to the extent that you're talking about the number of employees given periods of time, there's also sections of it that account for if you're a seasonal employer. So if you're in construction, for example, they try to account for that as well. So I think that when we're discussing all these different types of businesses, you really, that's where it gets a little bit more specific, and you would want to get specific advice for you in your circumstance and what would be the best for you, given how complex this is with the 1,200-page CARES Act and the other laws that are intermingled. But just know that the way it was before might not be the way it is today. And so relying on your general knowledge of how you think things are under the law might not currently apply. And that's why it really would be best to get advice that's specific to you under the current circumstances.
I mean, I would agree, just like you're not going to do my real estate career or my business because that's my full-time. I'm not going to do your job as an attorney. And I think that's the big thing is, you know, when we talk about society and we talk about attorneys and we talk about insurance agents and real estate agents, and I think we need to rethink these professions. And I'm saying from my standpoint, I was an insurance agent before, and I think sometimes we were overlooked because we were looked at salespeople. I think attorneys were thought of just in a litigious way. I think we get a reset of society right now. I think COVID-19 or this crisis has said, wait a minute, we need to look at things different. We need to actually seek help from those who are wanting to help us. And I think now is the best time to seek legal counsel, to take full advantage. Yes, my bank can do it. I know they can. But the bank doesn't know everything about me, and they've got 6 to 7 minutes to spend with me before they have to get to the next person. Can you tell me what the advantage of having a discussion with possibly an attorney like your firm first?
Well, absolutely. So you're right. We're actually advising the banks right now too, because we have a lot of bank clients, and they're trying to figure this out as well, because this impacts them and what they're able to do and what they're able to lend. And there are so many different provisions for different kinds of loans, and they're interested in making these loans too because they're government backed. And when they're government backed, they know that they're going to get paid. So I also want to point out that these loans that we're talking about through the SBA, something else that's huge about them, Jay, before we get into too many other details, is I've heard a lot about, well, they're going to make us pledge our personal houses and personal guarantees and all these different things, which is typical when you go to get a new loan, right? When you're a business owner, you have to guarantee everything. And most of these loans, and the ones that are forgivable that I previously talked about, don't require a personal guarantee or for you to have new security. And so they're not going to be putting a mortgage on your place of business or on your personal house just because you're going to get one of these loans. And so that's huge for people to know as well. And that you should think about that when you're going into think about, should I actually be trying to get an SBA loan? I think that a lot of business owners that never thought about an SBA loan before, this applies for them right now in these circumstances.
I think that's important because I can tell you of the years that I've been in business that I can hear from my colleagues, from people who were not my colleagues, from just watching internet posts and, oh, it's so hard to get an SBA loan. I think that's the mistake of assumption of, oh, it's so difficult. There are resources out there. There are people. Yes, it's probably going to take some paperwork because they just don't want to give it out to everybody. But I think the fact that people like your firm, other attorneys, banks, lenders, they need to get educated. And like you said, you're advising banks too. So this entire law hasn't been in effect for a long time. So as they're going Monday morning, they're probably like, what are we doing? And so you're side by side with your clients, telling them, here's the interpretation, here's how it fits into your operating, and then they're executing their plans. Jeana, if I will say there's a lot of business owners who are great at what they do. They are great at their trade or profession, but they're not versed in the law. What advice do you have for those people who, hey, stick to what you're doing, but leave this part to us?
Absolutely. So I think too, it can be intimidating, right, to contact an attorney that you've never worked with before, or maybe you've never really worked with an attorney, and that's really common. And so I think being accessible and just knowing, okay, call us, send us an email, and we'll have that consultation. And I think knowing that it's accessible and that we can speak in plain English, and we really want to be helpful. And that's what we're all about, is trying to help people accomplish what their goals are. And once we know what their goals are, which are probably like, how do I stay in business and how do I make my business successful, right? We're able to help them navigate all these new laws that they just went into effect last Thursday. So the CARES Act is brand new, and there's a lot in there that didn't apply a week ago. So this is so fresh, Jay. And I hear misinformation all the time in so many different ways. And I can give you another quick example. I have a good friend that's a surgeon, and he was saying, we can't do telehealth because it's not reimbursed in the same way. Boom, this law also applies to that. So they're able to do telehealth now in different ways than they were able to do just a week ago.
See, and again, I think because of this new law, many people are going to change business practice, and they're going to adapt, and they're going to have more avenues open to them. Again, it was business as usual for years and years and years and years and years. And we know that sometimes when you get into a comfort zone, you just operate. I mean, Gino, we are in a society that all you have to do is look at your dashboard to back up. All you have to do is say the word Alexa, and your music is played. But I think what this crisis is reminding us of, the human spirit, people like yourself who are gainfully employed and employ others to help them navigate through these laws.
Well, thanks, Jay. I think that it's exciting to be able to help people in this way. I know that I'm really encouraged by the CARES Act, and I think that it's going to be really powerful. I've been having a lot of discussions with employers on that are scared about how in the heck they're going to make their payroll, right? And people that have had to make some tough choices on laying people off, and they've never had to do that before. And this is going to allow them, in order to get these SBA loans, and that's why it couldn't happen quick enough either, because they need the cash, they need the money now in order to sustain their payroll. So I think that what might have been a decision a week ago before this law was passed has been dramatically impacted because of the CARES Act being passed. So I'm really proud too that people were able to come together in a cooperative fashion. We've never seen our government work like that and pass the largest bill of all time. So it's pretty powerful, Jay.
And I think, just like you said, it's unprecedented that we have so many prejudices already that, oh, they remember watching the news and my friends and people online saying, this is not going to happen. Oh, boo, this is just another sham. Well, guess what? It happened. Now it's here. Now we need to open our minds. So, Gino, what are some of the other things, some other highlights in the CARES Act that maybe that we haven't pointed out yet?
Yeah, so one of them too allows people to get, there's another area for emergency loans, and there's a $10,000 within 3 days. Now that's powerful. So people are like,
wow,
yeah, how often can you get a loan that quickly? And it said that's actually non-recourse, which means that they won't come back after you, even if they don't approve you for that particular kind of loan. So I think that there, in addition to the ones that are based upon how much payroll you have, there are other types of emergency loans that people can get to keep their businesses open and operating.
So I want to get into, I know that the CARES Act, we can probably talk about this for 4, 5, 6 hours, and I hear your passion. And if there's anything you want to come back to, please come back to it. But I kind of want to get into speaking about you. You know, I know that you have a very successful law firm. Joel Carney, a really good colleague of mine, our kids play sports together. I know your brand. I know what you do for the community. I know that Van Deep speaks very highly of you. But Jeana, in your last 2 weeks of being in this crisis, being different, the different mindset, what have you experienced that has changed about the way you think about things, or has anything changed about the way you think about things?
You know, Jay, that's a great question. And I've thought a lot about just that. Like, has this changed my belief system? And I think we go back and we talk a lot about our core values at the firm. And I think about my core values as a person. And last year I wrote my book, Worth It. And I was thinking, is everything I put in there still relevant now that this has happened? Because it has just totally changed the way that we're living right now. I mean, I haven't spent this much time in my house my whole entire life, I don't think. So there's a lot that has changed. And also the human spirit, though, is fundamentally just, it is so strong. And I am more than anything encouraged by the giving that people are doing and the way that they're giving it in unique different ways, right? And how they can help other people. And really that makes you feel empowered when you're helping others. I'll give you a quick example of my own office. Beth, who is one of our office in Sioux Falls, she's the managing partner there. Every week we do what we call our Friday kick-ass accomplishments report, and you send it out to your manager, internally called your KAA. And 3 things I did this week, 3 things I'm gonna do next week that kick ass. And one of the things that Beth put in there, just as a little note, was that she had donated blood, and then her and her son had gone out and helped deliver meals to people that weren't able to go and have the meals pick them up themselves, right? Because they needed the food. And I was thinking to myself, I mean, this is like a super busy, high stress person who's handling this heavy docket of cases and overseeing all these other people. And yet she finds time to go do those things. And that's really what I think makes me encouraged again about the humanity and the people around us. And so I'm excited because we're seeing so many acts of kindness and giving like that. And that's even reflected too in the CARES Act. There's charitable contribution areas, and we're able to help people plan out their charities and see how that's going to help them with their taxes. And there's some tax relief for that. But fundamentally, I have reevaluated and looked at, okay, my core values and our core values at Goosmann. And those are things like positivity. That hasn't changed. I'm still remaining positive, right? Even though this is, we're going through a lot as people, and there's a lot of uncertainty, but I think you can never go wrong with positivity. And it's about the way you look at things. And this too will pass, and maybe we'll come out of it better in some respects. And I think we will in some respects, even though it's going to be really hard and there's definitely some hardship. Quality, we're always focused on quality. You have to have quality work product. You have to be a quality person and constantly trying to improve and better. Productivity, that's something that, people that are hardworking, they're still hardworking right now, even though they're working from home, or they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do now, or what am I going to do next? And people are juggling more than they've ever had to juggle at this very moment. For us, culture is huge. And I think we've seen a lot in our culture, and focusing on that and focusing on teamwork. And some of the ways we focused on that are when we divvied out and we formed this rapid response team. I mean, we had people this weekend, they were all coming together, okay, you take this parts of the law and I'll brief this one. And that's exciting. And to have that giving culture too, that we're kind of known for. And I think all those different pieces and being strengths-based, all those are still relevant post-COVID as they were before. And so when you know what you're all about, and that's really what it boils down to, is it still relevant? Checking in on it, seeing, do you need to make any updates? But then ultimately, those core values, I think they still hold true for us and for a lot of people.
Gina, what I heard in there, I was holding back because I wanted to interrupt you, but I feel your energy right now, and I feel the pride you have in the people that work with you, your team, what you've assembled. First of all, for her to donate blood and donate, it's because you have an employer like yourself who embraces giving and a great spirit. And if I could ask you to just, I know that you're a good leader. You have to be, with all with everything that you've been able to accomplish, with the things that I've heard and the people that know of each other. I want you to send a message to just your firm real quick, just your people, because I know that your heart is of gold. I just want to hear you talk to them right now and give them a little bit of a message. And I'm sure you do, but I want to hear some of it.
Well, thanks, Jay. It's easy for me to talk to my people. We've actually been we do a Teams on Friday mornings so that we're all able to come together. And I think that I am really proud of them. I have an amazing team, and we have hired the best of the best. And when I say that, it's not just because they're really smart people. That's a given. They're all really smart, but it's that they do have the same belief system. They are thinking about what's best for the other people, and they're really caring, and they're really giving, and they're approachable, and they're hardworking, right? And they're dedicated. And we believe that passion fuels success. And I think that we see that right now more than ever. We're about, okay, diving into these areas of law, and we're excited about it, right? And how to help other people figure this stuff out. And I just think that they have the most helpful spirit, and I'm just really proud of our team and the teamwork that we have and the collegiality amongst the firm, and that we're pulling together, right? Sometimes when you go through adversity, it actually makes your team stronger. And we're all about being as strong as we can so that we can be competitive and help our clients with whatever it is that they need our help with. So,
that's awesome. So that's, like I'm just listening, right? And I listen to a lot of leaders, and I listen to I try to model my behavior after those who are successful. And we can all definitely take something away from you. I think you're very purposeful with your time. There's no way to achieve all those things and be involved with all those things without having a very good priority system. I think balance is an illusion. I mean, this is just my opinion. I think that you're very purposeful with your time. And again, as people get to know you, as they get to know your firm and the good that you're doing, I think they'll agree with me. Another question I have for you is, there is someone out there right now, he or she, they have a business, or they're just a mom, or they're just a dad, or there's someone out there having a really hard time right now, and they are looking for anything, and they're so in their head. Can you give a couple words of encouragement to that person?
Oh, absolutely. So I think it's important to know that this too will pass, right? And you got to just take it one day at a time, because you don't really know what's on the other side. And while I think fear tends to get the best of us, especially when we let it, we can all be really fearful at this time because it's scary. And to acknowledge that, okay, you go to fear, or you could just, what do I have before me, and how do I take one step at a time and one day at a time? I love this saying where you talk about that things turn out best for those who make the best of things. And I think that this is constantly ringing in my ears right now. And that comes up time and time again when you're faced with adversity, is how can you make the best of what you're given at that given moment? And this too will pass.
There will be a harvest for sure. And I can tell you that whatever we sow right now, we are going to reap. And there's two ways we're going to come out, bitter or better. And I choose to be better. I choose to really concentrate on what I can do now, not why is this happening. That's, you can't control that. What can I do right now is what I'm concentrated on. Jeana, let's circle back to the business owner. They need to find help. And I think you said it. When some people have never spoken with an attorney because they have one thought of an attorney, or they have heard someone who had an experience and they're intimidated. Can you kind of tell me how they should start, and what the process is going to be like working with somebody with your firm?
You bet, Jay. So I think, first of all, it's important to recognize that not all attorneys practice the same type of law. So if you're a business owner, you need to find an attorney that focuses on representing other business owners. And just like when you go to the doctor, there's your general practitioner, but you're not going to go see the foot doctor if you have something wrong with your spine, or so be it, right? So you need to find the right attorney that has the right focus area, and also is working in your jurisdiction or the state in which you have your issues. So those are the first couple things, is who are you contacting to help you with this? And then recognizing that you don't have to have all the answers, and they probably won't have every answer either, but they'll be able to help guide you in these complex areas of law that are rapidly changing, and in order to give you the best advice to help you accomplish those goals. And I think when you contact them, just to know and have some idea of what is it that's going on, and they'll ask you questions, right? And that's what lawyers are trained to do, is ask questions in order to get to the heart of the issue and figure out what really is the goal here and what does a win look like. When we're working in business, a lot of times we have to define the win, because there's lots of different ways that you could be successful. And in order to figure out what is it that you're trying to accomplish, and then they can help navigate you and give you some good direction as you make those business decisions.
I mean, that's sound advice, because again, if they don't know how to engage or know where to start, I'm going to make sure all of your information for your firm is located within the comments. I've posted it as well in all of the channels. I want to make sure, Jeana, that I'm very clear with people. I have spoken, and I have attorneys who are friends of mine, and people are people. What I like about you is you're front-facing, you are accessible, you are taking time out of your day. You could be with your family right now. Matter of fact, you should be, but you're in your office and you are working, and you have prepared well for today. Before you part, is there anything else that you want people to know before I cordially thank you for all of your time?
Well, thanks, Jay. I think that ultimately it's about making it worth it. And that is the judgment call on value. And really, you have to have all the facts and kind of know what your options are before you can figure out what is going to be worth it for you and for your business. And that's part of what we try and help our clients determine, is what is going to drive the most value and what are your different options and what's a clear path to help get you there. We absolutely love working with business owners and business leaders, and we would love to help your viewers too. So I encourage them to go to our website. We have a lot of resources there, and it's goosmanlaw.com. And I just encourage you all to take it one day at a time, and this too shall pass.
Jeana, I'm so grateful that you and I were able to spend time this evening. I know that this is going to be very valuable, the replays. I will make sure that it's available for people. You just have a heart of gold and a heart of service. And I can tell that you are enthusiastically prepared to help who needs help. And I want to make sure that I funnel people your way. I want to make sure that this is more than a referral. This is an endorsement of, wow, thank you for your time. You're so generous with it. Send me the bill, I'm afraid, right now.
No, there's no I had to study up for this, and I love sharing the information. As an attorney, we don't have a widget, we have knowledge, right? And so if we can give a little taste of what is that like for other people and help spread some of the knowledge on what the facts are and what the law is, I'm happy to do that, Jay. And I'm really grateful for you for having me on. So thank you so much. You are a business leader, and you're helping spread great messages. So thank you, Jay.
I appreciate you. I'm going to put you in the green room here while my parting thoughts. Thank you, Jeana Guzman. I appreciate you. So, friends, you heard it and you've seen it, and there's time for you to take action now. With the information that you're given, your responsibility is to reflect on it and take action, put a plan together. And I can invite you with no reservation to reach out to Goosmann Law. There are many great attorneys out there. There are many great firms. There are people that are ready to help. But I think if you have a complex situation or a situation that you're not sure about, invest in legal counsel. It helps you navigate through the waters that you've never been through. It's the matter of hiring those who are good at what they do. But beyond that is, again, this is, Jeana, you're such a testament to the human spirit. You want to see people achieve, and we are going to rise together. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you all for taking time out of your evening. I want to make sure that your questions get answered. And if you have any to pass along, I will pass them on to Jeana, but she and her team are ready to help with that. God bless you. This too shall pass. And remember, there will be a harvest and we will get better. I promise you. And again, thanks for listening.